Hello and welcome back. It's been a bit longer for me to get this video out because I caught my kid's stomach bug. I guess it's something that's going around. I have to tell you, starting with this video, all my Tales from the Darkside videos will feature only 2 stories moving forward. I'm doing that because, unlike Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Darkside has very few episodes. So doing only 2 stories instead of the normal 3 feels more appropriate for this series. In hindsight, I should have done only 2 stories for Creepshow as well, considering both shows only have 4 seasons. I just don't want to run out of stories. Horror anthology shows are few and far between. I enjoy doing this and don't want to burn through my DVD collection too soon. That being said, I know viewers have suggested I forget about doing Goosebumps, as it was a kids show, and since the content I do is gory and more adult-oriented in context, it would be jarring for my regular viewers. I know some of you suggested the show Monsters and Freddy's Nightmares. I'm going to be shopping for some new horror anthologies here soon, so list your favorite horror shows that you'd like me to review down in the comments. I know Friday the 13th came up a lot, but the story is kind of on rails, as in it's one connected story over many episodes. I like shows where it's a new story each episode with new characters. Based on the views of that video, I think most of you are in the same boat. But with all that out of the way, let's get into some more spooky stories. Our first story is titled Inside the Closet, from Season 1, Episode 7, originally airing on November 18th, 1984. It was written and directed by the legendary Tom Savini, and is one of Tales from the Darkside's most beloved episodes. Our story starts with Dr. Fenner sitting in his home, reading a book and listening to classical music. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. He goes to answer it, finding a young woman named Gail Ainsley. She is looking for a place to stay on campus, and Dr. Fenner's house has a vacant room on the 3rd floor that he has been unable to fill, mainly because he is a self-described strict landlord. He does nearly everything from his home. He writes, teaches, and studies there, and tells Gail she can't have a TV, radio, or boyfriend. Desperate for a place to stay, Gail agrees under the condition that she gets to see the room first. Fenner takes her upstairs and tells her that she has the entire 3rd floor to herself, but that things are less than legal. When Gail asks what about it is illegal, he explains that the house isn't zoned or up to code for tenants and has no fire escape. As a result, he'll take 25% off the listing's asking price for rent. Gail notices a small door tucked in the corner and asks if it's the closet. Fenner says it was, but the door is locked now and he doesn't have a key, so he built a new closet right next to it. He adds that there are other closets she can use in the house if she needs the room. Confused by the size of the door, Gail asks why the door is so small, but before she can get an answer, Fenner has already left the room. Later that night, as Gail unpacks, she can't help but stare at the little door in the corner. Fenner is seen downstairs, locking the house up for the night, and kicking a box of Gail's things that she left on the floor. Later that night, as Gail sleeps, the doorknob to the small closet begins to turn. The next morning, Gail asks Fenner for a key to the house, and he gleefully tosses her a key ring as he gets ready for work. She tells him that there's a rat in the house. Fenner looks at her and replies that the only rats here are in the formaldehyde in the basement. She tells him that she heard a rat squeaking behind the small closet door, and it woke her up twice last night. Fenner insists that there are no rats in the house. Before leaving, Gail tries her room key on the small door, but it doesn't unlock. While setting out rat traps, she accidentally bumps the key just right, and the door unlocks. Finding only a tiny closet-like space and assuming the rat is hiding there, she places the trap inside and closes the door. Later that night, looking at slides of Renaissance art, she hears the trap go off and turns on her light. She goes to investigate and finds that she is unable to open the door. Giving up, she decides to just go to sleep. In the middle of the night, the small door softly opens. Something short and pale runs across the room, darting under her bed. Sensing a disturbance in the force, Gail awakes. She finds the small door open, softly swinging. She decides to check things out, finding the space empty once again. The rat trap is nowhere to be seen. She closes the door and decides to get back into bed. However, before she can fall back asleep, the camera pans down, revealing two hemorrhoid-like eyes blinking in the darkness. The next morning, Gail places her hairdryer in a box under her bed and hears a knock at the door. Fenner tells her he's leaving in 2 minutes if she still wants a ride to campus. She mentions there's definitely a rat in the small closet, and she even managed to open it with her room key by bumping it just right. Fenner explains his daughter lost the key to the door years ago. Gail says she managed to get it open last night to place a trap inside. Fenner, looking concerned, asks what she caught. Gail, frustrated that the door won't open again, admits she didn't catch anything, but the rat trap was gone. Fenner responds jokingly, asking if the rat stole it for its own purposes. Gail suggests the rat moved the trap elsewhere and is quite crafty. Fenner laughs. He then jokes that while rats might avoid traps, they likely wouldn't rearrange furniture. Annoyed by the humor, Gail asks what is behind the small closet. Fenner mentions it being attic space, but it's sealed off and inaccessible. Gail suggests fumigating the area, and Fenner says they need to go because he's going to be late. The two leave, and as the door closes, the small box is pulled back underneath Gail's bed. Returning home, Gail sorts through her mail and hears the small door creak open. Investigating, she finds the empty small closet filled with little girls' clothing and toys. Shocked, Gail rifles through the clothing in disbelief. Gail reaches deeper into the closet, only to get her hand caught in the rat trap. Shrieking in pain, she tears the trap off her fingers and hurries to the sink to wash the blood off. She turns around to find the door slowly closing on its own. Panicked, she tries repeatedly to open the door, but it remains firmly shut. That evening, as Fenner returns home, Gail takes the opportunity to ask about his daughter. Fenner shares that his daughter is currently in Vermont, attending school and involved with a young man. He confesses that he funded her college and graduate education, only for her to end up painting houses with her boyfriend for a living. Gail then inquires about Fenner's wife. He reveals that she passed away several years prior after a battle with breast cancer. Gail mentions she's having trouble opening the small closet in her room. However, Fenner reminds her that he had told her when she moved in that his daughter misplaced the key years ago. He expresses skepticism, but Gail insists something is alive in the closet. Fenner's facial expression suggests he is concealing something from her. That night, Gail wakes to find the small door slowly creaking open once more. She cautiously crawls over to the door and shines a flashlight inside, revealing a small creature. The creature lunges at Gail, viciously attacking her with its sharp claws. Despite its small size, it possesses unexpected strength. The creature forcefully slams her to the floor, appearing to have killed her. The small creature then drags Gail's lifeless body into the tiny space, and the door quietly closes again. The next day, Fenner talks to Gail's mother on the phone, telling her that she left in the middle of the night, and he has no idea where she went. As Fenner talks on the phone, the creature is seen walking down the steps behind him. Fenner hangs up and lets out a yell. We're meant to believe the creature attacked him, but in reality, it only gave him a slight jump scare. It turns out that Lizzie, a small humanoid monster, is a known resident to Fenner. He gently holds the creature in his arms, speaking to it with affection and promising to tell it a bedtime story before the screen fades to black. When it comes to the episode Inside the Closet, the name Lizzie is never used in the episode itself. The creature is never called by name on screen. It was named Lizzie by legendary director and creature designer Tom Savini. The professor character, Fenner, mentions that the room used to belong to his daughter. That link between the daughter and the monster ties into the twist ending. It's left up to fan interpretation whether the monster in the closet was Fenner's daughter or simply a deformed family pet. The story was one of the simplest in Tales from the Darkside, but also one of the most memorable. It only ever involves two characters and a lurking monster. Savini said he did this on purpose to drive the viewer to choose their own adventure. He said that when the show went to commercial break, he wanted people to think Fenner was a creep and was spying on Gail. Then he wanted people to see the monster and think Fenner was okay, only for the big reveal to upend everything the viewers expected. Overall, it's a great episode and one of my favorites. It's a slow burn, done right. The creature itself functions like Hitchcock's bomb under the table. We, the audience, know there's something in that tiny locked door long before the main character does. That knowledge creates an undercurrent of dread. Every time she walks near the closet, every time she dismisses the noises, the tension builds because we're waiting for the inevitable explosion of truth. The lingering question of Fenner's relationship to the creature is what drives viewers crazy. To me, it's strongly implied that the monster is Fenner's daughter, even though he mentions another daughter, Margaret, and when we learn that Fenner's wife died of an aggressive cancer that seemed to be eating her from the inside, it raises a chilling thought. Maybe Lizzie was the thing doing the eating. Our final story of the video is ominously titled The Last Car from Season 2, Episode 19, originally airing on February 23, 1986. Our story starts on a dimly lit and abandoned train platform, the sounds of dogs barking and crickets chirping in the background. A young woman named Stacy waits for the train to arrive. After hours of reading a book, her train finally arrives. On board are a young boy dressed in a cowboy outfit shooting a toy gun, an elderly woman named Mrs. Crane, and a sleeping older man. The train starts to move, and Stacy is jostled, slightly bumping into the old man, waking him up momentarily. Stacy apologizes before going to find a seat. Mrs. Crane looks up and asks Stacy to keep her company. The little cowboy pretends to shoot her, saying she's double dog dead. Stacy takes a seat across from Mrs. Crane, comments on how empty this car is. Mrs. Crane says this is the last car. It sways more, so most people don't like it. Stacy says she's just happy to find a place to sit. Every year she travels the day before Thanksgiving, and every year she has to stand the entire 3-hour trip. She says she's glad she decided to try to find a place all the way at the back of the train. She asks if the train was late, saying she felt like she was waiting a while. She hopes to get home on time. Mrs. Crane looks confused by the on-time comment, pointing at her watch and asking what's with all the numbers on her fancy bracelet. Stacy, thinking the elderly woman is maybe a bit senile, says it's a watch. The little cowboy begins to panic, stating they're about to enter a tunnel. He wakes the sleeping older man, warning about the upcoming tunnel. The older man gestures to hush as the boy cowers in fear next to him. Mrs. Crane sits back in her seat and begins rolling her eyes. Stacy is taken aback. The lights in the cabin begin to flicker. Stacy looks out the window into pure blackness, only for her reflection to reach up and draw the window shade down. The lights flicker again, and a faint growl is heard. When the tunnel passes, the shades snap up once more. Stacy, believing she's overly tired from midterms, thinks nothing of it. Mrs. Crane looks over at Stacy, saying the tunnels used to frighten her so much. Being stuck in a confined space is starting to bug Stacy. She asks Mrs. Crane to watch her bags while she gets up to go to the next car, lying about a friend being left there. Stacy tries to open the door but finds it locked. She tries to ask the sleeping old man for help, but he says it's not stuck, it's locked. Mrs. Crane reads the sign by the door aloud. Door will not open while train is in motion. Stacy asks when the next stop is. She looks down at her watch, noticing it has stopped working. The little boy is now dressed as a soldier and begins rapid firing, rapidly annoying everyone in the car. Stacy yells over the boy's nagging toy, asking the old man and Mrs. Crane what time it is. Mrs. Crane says she's upsetting the little boy. The old man offers her a sandwich. Stacy, fed up, just yells out asking for the time, and the little boy screams, crying into the arms of Mrs. Crane. She comforts the child, telling him she just doesn't know. Stacy asks Mrs. Crane what it is that she doesn't know. Mrs. Crane ignores the question, saying that Stacy didn't mean to upset the boy, who's revealed to be named Joe. Stacy asks how Mrs. Crane knows her name. Again, Mrs. Crane ignores her question. Trying to get some air, she then tries to open the rear door. Mrs. Crane tries to stop her, telling her to read the sign, warning that opening the rear door will result in a fine. But Stacy does it anyway. Being the last car, the door just leads to a railing and the cold, dark night. Stacy stumbles back to her seat. Joe pops up and shoots her with his fake gun. She asks Joe about his cowboy outfit before the boy continues to play, shooting both Mrs. Crane and the sleeping old man. Stacy asks if Joe is Mrs. Crane's grandson. Instead of answering, Mrs. Crane says Stacy would feel better if she got some sleep. Stacy says it's a simple question. If he is her grandson, she should teach him to be more mindful of others. And if he isn't, someone should let the conductor know there's a child alone on the train. The old man takes the gun from the boy and offers to play a card game to let Stacy sleep. The two get into a small argument over which card game to play, listing off a bunch before falling on Go Fish. Stacy asks herself how many card games they know before falling asleep. The train continues through the dark night, and Stacy wakes up to Mrs. Crane asking if she feels better. Stacy grumbles that she always feels worse after a nap. Mrs. Crane says she's knitting Stacy a shawl, stating that it sometimes gets cold in the last car, especially in the long dark tunnels. Stacy says that there shouldn't be any tunnels on her route, as it follows the coastline. Beginning to put the pieces together, she asks if she's on the right train. She notices the train should have made at least 3 stops by now, but hasn't slowed down since she got on. Stacy asks where the train is headed. Mrs. Crane again looks confused, so Stacy asks in a different way, this time asking where the train stops. Mrs. Crane smiles and says maybe she should talk to the conductor. The train's horn blows again, signaling that they're about to enter a tunnel. Everyone in the train car shows panic. The boy takes his toy gun and shoots the old man, but this time the toy seems to actually shoot real bullets, filling the old man with holes. The little boy aims the gun at Stacy with a smile on his face and pulls the trigger. Stacy screams and darts out of her seat, only for the boy to riddle it with bullet holes. Stacy looks on in terrified disbelief as the old man suddenly appears alive and apparently uninjured. He casually takes a bite of the apple in his hand, completely unfazed by the recent events. The young boy lies down on the bench and goes to sleep. Stacy is stunned, wondering what the hell is going on. Mrs. Crane just looks over at her knowingly and says that you'll get used to the tunnels eventually. Somehow Stacy falls asleep again. The old man exits the bathroom completely unharmed and walks back to his seat. Meanwhile, Joe, with another costume change, now runs down the middle row in a football uniform, scaring Stacy awake. She tells Mrs. Crane that she feels like she's been on this train for days, but it's still dark outside the windows. Mrs. Crane says it's night, but Stacy isn't buying it. Stacy says that even at night you can see streetlights, stars, and the moon, but there's nothing but blackness outside. Just then, a conductor enters the train car and somberly walks over to Stacy, asking for her ticket. Stacy asks where they are and why the train hasn't stopped yet, but receives no answers. She asks if she can go to another car with the conductor, but he tells her she can't. The conductor punches her ticket and returns it, and Stacy notices that her round-trip ticket has been replaced with a one-way. The conductor insists that that's the only ticket he has. When he starts to leave the car, Stacy tries to follow but trips on her luggage. As the train enters another tunnel, it's revealed that the conductor is a decayed corpse. Stacy looks back in horror to see that the old man, Mrs. Crane, and the little boy Joe are all corpses as well. When the tunnel passes, everything snaps back to normal. Terrified, Stacy is comforted by Mrs. Crane, who puts a shawl over her and teaches her to knit. Time passes, and Joe, now dressed as a spaceman, fires a toy laser gun. The train enters another tunnel, and once again everyone, including Stacy, becomes a corpse, whispering the word, tunnel, over and over as the screen fades to black. The Last Car was written by Michael McDowell and directed by John Strisik, first airing on February 23, 1986. The episode largely takes place within a single train car, a choice that amplifies the claustrophobia and otherworldliness. The small cast, including Stacy, Mrs. Crane, the young boy, the old man, and the mysterious conductor, heightens the tension as strange occurrences escalate. Clever use of lighting, swaying camera angles, and flickering tunnel lights make the train ride feel surreal, turning a simple journey into a slowly unfolding nightmare. Behind the scenes, practical touches, like redressing a prop corpse for the climactic reveal, show the production team's resourcefulness in creating eerie visuals on a modest budget. Fans generally received The Last Car positively, praising its atmosphere, unsettling pacing, and enigmatic ending. Many consider it one of the stronger episodes of the series, with some ranking it among the top 5. Viewers often note how suspense is built through suggestion and the audience's foreknowledge rather than overt scares, creating a slow-burning sense of dread. While most appreciate the ambiguity and surreal horror, some viewers wish for a more explicit explanation. Personally, I think the episode is fun, but intentionally vague. Is the train on the way to the afterlife, or is it a form of purgatory? Like many Tales from the Darkside stories, it leaves you questioning. Back in the day, TV shows were interactive in a way. Families would talk about what something meant during commercial breaks. When the story ended, we'd all discuss our interpretations. I believe Stacy was dead the entire time. The train functions as a modern version of the ferryman's passage, shuttling souls from the land of the living to the land of the dead. The conductor is the ferryman, and the ticket is like the coins used for passage. The tunnels represent the spaces between worlds, where imagination and reality, life and death, can collide and mix. That's why Joe's toy gun turns real. The train is slipping between realities. But that's the fun part. There's no definitive answer. The story is presented and left to the viewers to fill in the gaps with their own imagination. The darkest corners of your mind complete the narrative. That's what makes this episode, and many others from Tales from the Darkside, so compelling. But that's all I have for you in this one. Thank you for watching, and a special thank you to our channel members. Take care, stay safe, and have a great week, and we'll see you in the next one.